ไม่ที่หนึ่งเดี๋ยว YouTube 15ที่ไลฟ์นะมีอะไรขัดข้องใน Facebook มาละเรียบร้อยเดี๋ยวถึงเวลาคือจะที่ปิดเพลงตอนนี้เสียงของเขาที่สต็อปของมันเป็นเอ็นซีนะเพื่อเสียงของ
ดีจริงจัง
นี่เป็นรสชาติชอบนี่ไงเสริมอยากได้เสริมใจเย็นชิชิ
เอาคนเก่า
มีบ้างตื่นเต้น
เข้าไป
ขอ
ตายดี
เป็นไรตื่นเต้น
ไม่ได้ตื่นเต้นแต่ว่า
จังหวะไม่ได้กรึ๊บหนึ่งแล้วเข้าใจ
ไปรับ
อืม
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Okay, we will start in a few minutes. Okay, we'll start in a few minutes. We'll give you more time to please stretch a bit. We're very happy that we are joined by a lot of our participants. But again, as mentioned, we'll start in a few minutes. We're very happy that you're here. We'll start in 2 minutes. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone, again. Thank you so much. Konnichiwa. Good afternoon, everyone. We're very happy to see all of you here in our WebEx links. We're also very happy to receive all of your warm chats in our WebEx. But at the same time, we're also monitoring the messages and the greetings that we are receiving live via Facebook. Good afternoon, konnichiwa, sawadikap, salamat petang, magandang tanghali. A very warm welcome to all of you joining us today from across Southeast Asia, Japan, and beyond. Wherever you're tuning in from, we're so happy that you are here. Again, good afternoon to all of our participants joining via WebEx, Facebook, and YouTube. We are monitoring chat, so please access all of the chat functions across the different platforms. And so let us know where you are, and we will be very happy to greet each of you. On behalf of the Center for Research on International Cooperation in Educational Development, or CRISED, from the University of Tsukuba, and the Southeast Asian Ministers of Education Organization, or SEMO, Secretariat, welcome to the pre-event online course for the 14th SEMO University of Tsukuba Symposium, focusing on the utilization and challenges of generative AI in education. Again, good afternoon, and to our participants. We are receiving messages and participants from Thailand, from the Philippines, and also from Vietnam. So we're very happy that you are also here. Of course, good afternoon to all of our delegates attending from Japan. My name is Carlo Fernando, Learning Innovation Information Specialist from the CMU Secretariat, and I will be your MC for today. Thank you for spending your afternoon with us. Arigato gozaimasu, kapwan kap, terima kasih, maraming salamat. Over the next few hours, we will explore how Gen AI is transforming education, what excites you, what challenges us, and what we need to think about before we rely on it too much. Personally, I use Gen AI and I am personally also excited to hear more ideas as to how we can use it better in our work. A few quick housekeeping rules before we begin. Again, please feel free to use the chat. This is also an interactive session. We are hosting around 1,000 to 2,000 plus participants across Southeast Asia and Japan. So we're doing our very best to accommodate all of your questions and respond to them properly. And yes, all of those who will accomplish our assignment and our QR code for later will receive an e-certificate. So please tune out for that so that we can share more instructions about it later. All right? As we are ready to begin and to officially open today's program, it is with great honor that I invite the former director of CRISED and emeritus professor of the University of Tsukuba, adjunct professor from Konkan University in Thailand, for his welcome remarks. May I kindly acknowledge Professor Masami Isoda.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mr. Carlo. And first of all, I would like to acknowledge all of contributors and the participants, especially Senior Secretariat and Dr. Habib. Thank you very much for today. This is a free event for the I will open my PowerPoint. Can you see the PowerPoint? Madam.
Could we try again, Isoda Sensei?
Yes.
Thank you.
This one. これできたらね。
これ入れてもらっていいですか？大丈夫です。大丈夫です。はい。はい。そういうことはもう
これ必要ですか？
必要です。そうです。どうぞ。
Okay. Okay, this is a brief event for empowering learning future digital transform sustainable education from CRISED. I'm currently senior professor of the Bureau of Global Initiative, University School, and former director of the CRISED. Thank you very much. And the content of the today online course is explained by Dr. Habiba and Miss Ishihara. And thank you very much for all of your contribution and collaborations, especially SEMO Secretariat. My role is to explain the past online courses. First of all, I would like to acknowledge for your contribution and collaboration and participations. Those are the previous courses with SEMO Secretariat and the SEMO member centers. And this is the statistics and up to year 2024. This is the fiscal year to 5 in the case of Japan. And we developed 30 courses issues on the international baccalaureate and AI informatics and social study and mathematics education. 13 courses. And it is developed by the 15 universities and institutions in 11 countries. Please look at the statistical data. Huge number of registered. These courses are developed for those registers, and thank you very much for the registers to support and attend and our these courses. And the way to get to the certificate is explained later. However, huge number of the people participating. Thank you very much. And currently, our past courses is existed on those sites. If you use the QR code, you can visit. And we are now planning to develop to innovate past courses to enabling to receive the certification again. And now it is in process. Thank you very much for your collaboration and participation.
Thank you very much, Isoda Sensei. Those are very, very helpful links to all of our participants. Domo arigato gozaimasu also for welcoming us and setting a very positive tone for today. Next, I am pleased to invite our director from the SEMO Secretariat to deliver welcome remarks. May I kindly acknowledge Datuk Dr. Habiba Abdul Rahim for her welcome remarks.
Distinguished educators, school leaders, policymakers, researchers, colleagues, and esteemed guests, welcome to this pre-event online course for the 14th SEMO University of Tsukuba Symposium. It is my honor to address you as we explore one of the most rapidly evolving forces in education today, generative artificial intelligence. Southeast Asia has witnessed remarkable digital expansion in recent years. According to the UNESCO SEMO Global Education Monitoring Regional Report 2023 on Technology and Education, our region now accounts an estimated 400 million internet users, with 40 million people coming online for the first time in 2020 alone. This digital growth has opened new possibilities for education, from online learning platforms to digital resources that can reach remote communities. However, this progress remains deeply unequal. Students from the richest households are almost 8 times more likely to be connected at home than their poorest peers, and only half of rural primary schools have internet access. Whilst technology holds tremendous promise for transforming education, these disparities risk deepening rather than bridging existing divides. Now, as we stand at the threshold of the AI era, we face an even more rapid technological transformation. Artificial intelligence is developed at unprecedented speed, bringing capabilities that seemed impossible just years ago. Adaptive personalized learning, intelligent tutoring systems, and automated assessments. The question is no longer whether AI will transform education, but how we can integrate it effectively while addressing its challenges and ensuring equity for all learners. Such a transformation requires us to fundamentally re-examine teachers' roles and the competencies needed in an AI-rich educational environment. As UNESCO noted in its 2023 guidance on generative AI, only 7 countries worldwide had at that time developed AI frameworks or programs specifically for teachers. While interest in AI policy has grown rapidly since then, these findings remind us that structured support for teachers has often lagged behind technological adoption in many systems. Meanwhile, questions of algorithmic bias, data privacy, digital literacy, and the preservation of critical thinking skills demand our urgent attention. The path forward calls for an approach to AI integration that balances enthusiasm for its possibilities with critical awareness of its risks. How do we ensure that AI serves as a supportive tool rather than a substitute for teachers' fundamental roles? How do we maintain human agency whilst embracing AI's capabilities? How do we use AI inclusively so that all learners benefit regardless of gender, ethnicity, ability, or socio-economic background? Above all, we must ensure that as AI capabilities expand, we strengthen rather than diminish essential human capacities for reasoning, creativity, and meaningful interpersonal connection. As we embark on this journey together, I encourage you to engage actively in today's discussions, share your insights and experiences, and build connections that extend beyond this pre-event session. By addressing these challenges collectively, we move closer to a sustainable and inclusive future for education across Southeast Asia. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Datuk Dr. Habiba, for that inspiring message and for always reminding us why responsible innovation in education matters. Again, thank you so much for everyone tuning in. The countries who are represented here, who are also attending here live via WebEx, Facebook, and YouTube. We have participants, teachers, people also from private organizations are also here, from robotics organizations. I also see live on chat. But at the same time, I'm very excited to share that we have college students joining us live today. So we have participants coming from Oman, Portugal, Malaysia, particularly from Putrajaya and Kuala Lumpur. We also have participants coming from Laos, Timor-Leste, Myanmar, Indonesia, Nepal, the United States of America, and a lot of participants coming from the Philippines, from Bukidnon, Nueva Ecija, Cebu, Dumaguete, Baler, Tarlac. So we're very, very happy that you are here sharing with us your valuable time and energy. So as promised, we're now walking through. I know that some of you are also thinking what would happen today in this pre-event online course. So may I kindly invite my colleague, Ms. Nao Ishihara from CRISED, the University of Tsukuba, to give us a brief overview of this program. Nao-san, over to you.
Thank you very much, Carlo. Am I audible? Okay. So thank you for your introduction, Carlo. I'm Nao Ishihara from CRISED, Center for Research on International Cooperation in Educational Development, University of Tsukuba, Japan. Some of you might be familiar with me because I had been working as an MC for the past online courses. I'm really happy that we could meet again here today. And with the SEMO Secretariat, we're so happy that we could organize this half-day workshop with you. And I hope we can learn together and make this a very fruitful event. So let me briefly explain about today's workshop. Can we go to the next slide? The focus of today's workshop is, yes, this, utilization and challenges of generative AI in education, as Dr. Habiba, the director of SEMO Secretariat, has just mentioned. And I also believe it is a very timely and a relevant topic for all of us. And can you go to the next slide? We have invited 3 distinguished keynote speakers, maybe the next, which I will introduce them soon, very soon. And yes, this one. Another highlight is that we have some lively discussions with the participants where you can exchange ideas and concern together about the topic. And it will be followed by the reflection session, which I hope will make today's workshop very fruitful. So in the next slide, let me introduce the keynote speakers for today. For do we have, keynote lecture, 3 names with the names? Is there a slide with the keynote lecturers? If not, I can use this one. Yes, this one. So for keynote lecture 1, we invite Dr. Kesara, who is the director of SEMO STEM Ed. And for keynote lecture 2, we invite Dr. Maja, director of SEMO Innotech. And for keynote lecture 3, we invite Dr. Nakanomura, director of CRISED. So we're so excited to learn from all the speakers. And of course, we have a Q&A session so that participants can ask questions. Please utilize the chat box if you have some questions. And please note your name, your country, and to whom you're addressing the question. I will follow up on this format later when the question session comes. So let me finally introduce about the certification because people might be interested in it. So as shown on the slide, to the participants who have participated in the session and submitted the assignments will be given an e-certificate. So please be sure to submit the assignment, which we won't announce it right now, but the assignment will be coming soon, sometime during today's workshop. So please stay tuned. And I hope you can submit the reflection because this submission is compulsory for having the e-certificate. Thank you so much, Carlos. So that's all from my side. I'll give the floor back to you.
Thank you, Nausan. Thank you so much. I hope this gives us a very clear roadmap of the afternoon ahead. Again, if you can also really share your insights and your reflections later, that would be your gift to all of us because I know that you're here to learn, but at the same time, learning is a two-way. So that's also your gift to us. So before we proceed, may kindly ask everyone who are present here and who can open your cameras for a very brief photo opportunity. This is very important. I think this is one of the most exciting parts in attending webinars. So please open your cameras for a photo opportunity before we proceed to the first lecture. Great. Thank you so much. Now we can see our wonderful smiles. So please look at the it's so nice to see our wonderful participants coming in from different spaces. So okay, please look at the camera and come join this wonderful photo opportunity and smile. 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay. I think I got that on record already, Changan. Thank you. So we have another one. Yes, we also have another one. Again, please join us. 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay, thank you so much. Now, let's go to the most exciting part of today's session, our keynote lectures. Our first keynote focuses on practical demonstrations of Gen AI tools. How do we actually use Gen AI and what could be the great ways to use Gen AI? Especially in classrooms, majority of us are also students, lifelong learners. So what could be good cases, no, or good examples as to how we can use Gen AI? And also we'd love to hear regional STEM initiatives and how we can be part in helping scale AI together. Now, to talk about integrating generative AI into STEM pedagogy, enhancing inquiry, problem solving, and assessment in Southeast Asian classrooms, it is my pleasure to introduce the Center Director of the Southeast Asian Ministers of Education Organization Regional Center for STEM Education, or what we call SEMO STEM Ed, based here in Bangkok, Thailand, Dr. Kesara Amorn-Vutivorn for her keynote lecture. Dr. Kesara, the virtual floor is yours.
Thank you, Carlo. And good morning, Professor Isoda of Tsukuba University, and colleagues from CMES and SEMO regional centers, distinguished speakers, and esteemed educators. It's my pleasure to be able to exchange insights and ideas with you, and I really look forward to this learning exchange with you. So today I will be joined with my colleague, Mr. Dat Tapala, who will share with you about practical ideas that how we have integrate AI to enhance instructions. And we really would like to see that how the AI can really help enhance the classroom. And so let me share with you that why the AI can really help us in providing the kids, right? I think we have to ask the first questions that is our education system really responding to the future jobs demand? And we would like to touch upon that. And how about the global competencies of PISA? What are they looking for the system to help kids achieve? And how generative AI can help enhance the use of other tools, because AI, in my view, is another technology that can work with other technologies that help kids learn better, help teachers and leaders to improve the entire education system. Yes, there are risks that we have to be concerned about the use of AI, that when we promote and support teachers to use, teachers need to be aware of that. And the bottom line is how our regional educators can work together in helping kids and helping and support teachers and educators to continue using technology and now AI. And there will be more and more technologies that we need to be able to help our educator enhance them. When coming to the future of jobs, and I think everyone has been aware that from this slide, there are many countries in our region that our people still struggle and are paid in low paid environment jobs. Singapore and many countries, they are performing well by the dark blue shade proportion of people that work in highly paid job. But in many countries like Thailand, Indonesia, Philippines, our people still struggle because of their skills. Their skills do not respond best to the job demands. And what does it imply to our education system? So these are the jobs in high demand. And I think the job demand will have been evolved very rapidly. If you really look at the job on the top chart, data analytics specialist, AI and machine specialist, a lot of jobs in high demand, they are highly related to technologies. Right? And yes, there are some that related to sustainability, environment. And what does it mean? It means that does our education system really help our kids to be able to use data wisely? Because these jobs, they require the competencies in the use of data analytics. And this align with the trend that when PISA requires students to acquire the competencies that tested by this global competency framework, the first the 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 first diagram is about science competency. The second one is about the environmental competencies, and there is another one coming out about the climate education competencies. All of these three competencies, they really heavily focus on the use of data, the use of evidence to make decisions or take proper actions to the problems, to construct explanation of the concepts that they learned from science, or to take appropriate actions after they make decision or look at the data that how they can respond better to the climate scenarios that we have been facing. So this framework, what does it tell us? That currently the challenges that we have been encountering in the region, and I believe in many other regions, is that even though we know that STEM is very important, but teachers still have limited capacity to deliver effective instructions. And students, in many countries, we still have a big learning gaps, and the big gap of those learnings are about the access to the tools, the access to the practices, hands-on materials, and at the educational leaders level, they lack information, adequate information to help them improve the policy. And most of all, I think the platform that provide them with evidence-based practices that actually we can share together. And I think we haven't utilized enough of technology to help us address these challenges. And these are alternatives that we can help equip them better, access to the tools, the effective tools, and provide the frameworks that they can feed to AI and use AI as the collaborative partners, and help students to access to the platform that can ensure the equitable access. And finally, the community of practices, that how we can use technology to create that. So this morning, my colleague Dash will share with you the practical implementation of how AI can be used integratively with these tools that we have pilot and implemented regionally in the program called CTEPS, and in the future programs in the region. So Dash, yeah, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kasara, and good morning, everyone from all over the world. So it's my pleasure to share with you today how Gen AI can be used in the. So PISA just sets the destination, but actually it's up to the teachers how we will get to that destination. And when we talk about AI, usually what comes to mind is the fact that students are using AI in the classroom just for cheating or bypassing their homeworks. And the real shift in the educational landscape is not students using AI, but instead it's teachers using AI to design better learning pathways to get to these destination that the frameworks have set for us. So today for this is not loading. So for today's discussion, we'll be tackling on how we can shift from the traditional method of AI being answering machines into the future where AI can be used as thinking partners. So for today's session, I'll start off with the first tool that we can use for our classrooms, which is the learning resources from the Concord Consortium. So the Concord Consortium has 3 sets of resources, which is learn.concord.org. The second one is CODAP, and the third one is Sage Modeler. So the first one, let me share the other screen. So our first resource for today is the Concord Consortium's learn.concord.org. So learn.concord.org is a set of resources where you can find all these models that allow students to learn through simulations, data exploration, and model building. So these tools are spread across all the different subject matters, subject experts. You have the different grade levels as well for primary, secondary, and higher education. So what's most commonly happening in the classroom is that students often know what changed in these types of data, but they don't know how these things happen. So for example, we'll dive into one of the models. We're checking right here the factors that affect air quality. Start the simulation. And now this is a cool and interesting way that students can learn how the different factors in the environment affect the air quality in the system. In the classroom, what's commonly happening is that teachers are usually struggling with getting students to explain what they observe. Usually, they have trouble guiding inquiry in data-rich simulations because from the simulation you've seen earlier, there's so much data going on that it becomes difficult to keep track of what should we focus on, what things we should pay our attention to. There's also trouble of localizing these units into their specific context because as you may have seen in our exploration earlier, some of these units are heavily focused on context from other countries. So that's where AI use can come in. We can use AI to generate these guiding questions and data for our models to support sense making in CODAP and Sage Modeler. So we'll be able to see those details right here, right now. So Concord has several tools that we can use. So for example, here we have a preliminary set of data from the air quality discussion in Jakarta. You can see where this data comes from. And this tool from Concord, we can use AI to come up with possible challenge questions for kids. These questions are framed aligned with PISA standards to help encourage critical thinking, analysis skills from students. And these tools make learning about these processes much more easier. For example, I want to learn about the first one, the range of PM 2.5 measures across Jakarta. I can just simply click a graph here and drag values over here. So this is one tool, not yet directly AI, will help us get to that destination much better. So now, how do you actually use AI to help enhance this learning experience? So the way we would suggest to do that, and there's no one way, one certain way to do that is to use AI as a lesson planning assistant. So now we can try using prompts to help us integrate some of these pedagogies into our lesson planning activities. So for example, here is a suggested lesson plan prompt. The target group is grade 7 to 9 students based on the topic of air quality or flooding or what we will be using. So we're asking AI to provide a detailed plan on how we can use these high impact pedagogies. And if we do start feeding that into our Gen AI platforms, you'll see that we're now able to come up with these frameworks of lesson plans that we can readily use in our classrooms. And what's good about these is that these learning resources are already aligned with the NGSS, with the PISA frameworks. And from here on, you can easily go ask the Gen AI platform to align the context, for example, to Southeast Asia. So now AI will help you come up with real world issues that we can connect to what's happening in your local environment. So that's one way how AI can enhance learning within the classroom using the Concord resources. So AI can also help furthermore along the discussion as we try to map out different factors that may affect air quality and whatever factors we're analyzing. So here you see right now another tool from Concord, which is a visualization of the different variables within the environment. For example, how air quality would affect the rate of sinking or how population directly affects air quality and rate of sinking. So to visualize that, we have these readily available tools that can help us see the impact of each factor. So a rise in green movement or a change in season affects the air temperature, which indirectly affects the sea level and the rate of sinking. So those are things that we can start to analyze inside the classroom. So these resources have been readily applied across Southeast Asia through the CTEP program. And most recently, we did a series of workshops in Indonesia where participants were able to learn and refine their skills in using the Learn Concord resources, the CodeApp platform, and the Sage Modeler platform. So for our teachers who are very much interested in applying these into their classrooms or universities, please feel free to reach out for more details for this. We do have upcoming sessions of trainings in the next coming quarters, so please look out for that as well in the STEM Ed social media channels. So the next tool that we're going to be talking about today is FlowIno. FlowIno is an AI learning platform. It's a visual programming environment designed to introduce students to computational thinking, specifically the foundations of computational thinking, not just through syntax, but more of analyzing the thought process, the logic, and the sequences in decision making. So this is a quick demonstration of what the platform is capable of. What makes FlowIno very powerful is that it lowers the barrier to entry for students. So students don't have to learn how to code to be able to understand how AI literacy, how these Gen AI platforms process information. So as you can see on your screen right now, we have a camera feed that students can play with and connect those two decision trees. This one you're seeing right now is the AI learning what set B looks like and what the set A looks like. So we're training the model, and now you can see that the AI will eventually be able to recognize that letter that's being shown as a letter A or a letter B through subsequent training. So this kind of lays the foundation of how we can help students, especially early on in their learning journey, understand the process of AI. And with understanding, they can now better transition these skills into analytical thinking, critical thinking, and other 21st century skills. So with FlowIno, teachers usually struggle with creating meaningful problems and differentiating difficulty and making problems that are local and relevant. So most of the time, teachers often just reuse the same example challenges. With FlowIno, the tool works very well, but the learning heavily depends on the quality of the problem we give to students. So how can we now integrate Gen AI to augment this learning process? First is to define the learning goal, to add local context, and to use AI to generate challenge scenarios. We can ensure alignment with relevant frameworks and AI ethics. So in this case, Gen AI is being used as a challenge and context generator. So what can teachers actually do? For example, we can make an AI prompt that asks teachers to create 3 FlowIno challenge scenarios for grade 5 students. This time we're focusing on the earlier grade about flood response in the Southeast Asian community. So we're now integrating the idea of localized context. We can go as specific or as general as you want. So these challenges should align with NGSS practices, support PISA-style problem solving, and the equip learning models that we saw earlier. So once we feed that into the prompt, let's see how AI will respond. So you can see here right now, Gen AI has come up with 3 challenges. The first challenge is the rising water at the riverside village. This is more for the basic challenge for kids. And it also gives us the different scenarios and the constraints that will actually challenge the students to think about how they will approach a problem, the logic and the thought process, like, if this is the situation, then what is the next? It allows for better computational thinking and mathematical analysis as well. So you can see here the different challenges. For this session, I will not be focusing on the actual content of on the actual output of the AI, as we want to focus on the techniques that we can use, and refine it further along using our expertise as educators. So this platform has also been integrated all across CTEP program. So you can see here, the good thing about FlowIno is it also allows for integration of different data sets, for example, microbit, For example, like physical buttons that students can play around it as qualifiers for the if-then statements. So if you are very much interested in exploring these platforms, so I know it's actually free. You can reach out to Associate Professor Panrasi Ritipravat from Mahidol University of Thailand. So you have her email out there. So that's another learning opportunity that we can adapt and integrate to our universities. And the third platform I have for you today is the VEX Robotics. So VEX Robotics has a set of resources, but specifically we'll be focusing on VEX Code VR. So it's a virtual robot, a virtual playground, and a live dashboard at the same time. So you can see here a short snippet of how it's working. So what do teachers usually struggle with when it comes to this aspect? Focusing on robotics and technology, because this is all the hype nowadays with robotics, technologies. Number one, there's no available hardware in schools. And second, there's very low teacher confidence in handling technology or robotics. And the third one is assessing how students think, not just the outcomes. So most of the time with these challenges, one trap that we must always avoid is to just set these challenges as being all about getting to the end or the results. And not thinking about the process. So how can Gen AI augment this learning process? We can define the thinking focus. We can set parameters like the speed, requirements, the efficiency, the safety, the accuracy, and use AI to generate these scenarios that will actually help students think more. So rather than just getting a robot from point A to point B, there can be multiple options to achieve success in the challenges. You will see that as we prompt the AI in a bit. It will also help us in guiding students to compare, optimize, and justify solutions. So make them explain how they approach that problem in that particular way. So in this case, AI is used as a scenario and constraint designer. So for our prompt for VEX, we'll be trying to create a VEX Code VR puzzle where a robot must collect objects efficiently in a maze-like environment. So the challenge should integrate all the frameworks as well, similar to earlier, and emphasize on not providing code or solutions and only the puzzle description so that we can actually help the students think about it for themselves. So if we do feed that prompt into the AI, we can see that it's come up with these set of rubrics. And what's interesting is I find this particular maze possibly being very challenging for the students as well. A challenge can be something like find the highest value that you can get with a limited set of energy for the robot. So, for example, moving one square will be 3 units of energy. You can see that in our simulation in a bit. And students will now identify which path they will have to take to get the most out of their available resources. So there's no one solution, and students are now encouraged to think, analyze, and solve problems critically. So in the VEX environment, it will look similar to something like this. So here I have made a pre-made quick code that allows students to play around with it. So you can see when I do start it, you can see the robot tracing its path towards the different objects. So what's interesting about this is that there will be many ways on how you can approach a problem, and it also tackles so many different skills as well. And with using AI, you can help them work more towards those goals that we have. So for the VEX system, the VEX Code VR supports all the whole spectrum, starting from age 8 up to higher education. You saw how AI can help support creating those problems and challenges for kids. But if you do want to expand those learning opportunities, there are a variety of available hardware options, starting from ages 4+ with the VEX 123 Go AIM. The VEX AIM specifically focusing on the AI aspect with AI vision, similar to what we saw with Fluino earlier on. So all the way to the workforce readiness spectrum, where they can start playing around with robotic arms. So for the VEX resources, we've been implementing them across various countries in Southeast Asia, particularly in Thailand, Brunei, several SEMO centers as well for these trainings. Interested in trying out their free resources and exploring the hardwares, please feel free to reach out to Mr. Andy Lee and Mr. Mo through the contact details shown on your screen. So what really is the key takeaway for this session? The thing that we have to keep in mind is that one of the most important AI skills that we need to teach students right now is not to focus on asking AI to give us the direct answers. It's about prompting and asking the right questions to improve their thinking. That's why I said earlier that AI should be positioned as a thinking partner. Prompting is actually a thinking skill, and like any thinking skill, it doesn't emerge automatically. You must be intentional in teaching these to students and guiding them into proper AI use, proper integration in the classroom, not just using AI to complete their homeworks. So if students only learn how to ask AI for answers, we haven't prepared them for the future, as shown by the PISA frameworks we learned about earlier. If they learn how to use AI to test their ideas, challenge us reasoning, then that's when AI becomes a learning partner. So these tools are everywhere, but is not. That's why this session focused not just on learning about these tools, but actually applying them. So the methods that I saw earlier is just the tip of the iceberg on how you can use Gen AI to support classroom learning. So used carelessly, AI becomes an answering machine. But if used responsibly, it becomes a thinking partner for teachers designing learning and students also navigating the complex world that we live in. Because the future of AI in education is not just about the technology adoption, it is about educational readiness, ethical use, and purposeful pedagogy. So these tools are already here, and the real work is guiding thinking, and we're just starting to get to that. So what can we actually do to support that? I'd like to turn the floor back over to Dr. Kesara for the implications for the Southeast Asian education system.
So yeah, I like to end our presentation with this slide that AI can not only be used by individual teachers, but by educational leaders, by those who influence the system, because the system have to provide environment for teaching, for quality teaching. So AI can be used not just only for teachers, but for students, how we can work together to provide a common platform for all Southeast Asian students, because a lot of platform that students can access for customized practices, they are not for free. They are charged by private sector. But how government in Southeast Asia can work together in providing such a platform, and how we can provide the platform that our educational leaders can have adequate data for informing policies for the future practices. Last but not least, how we can work together on this platform that we can share evidence-based practices, such as lesson plans, or maybe some curricular units that have been proven that it works. So thank you for your attention, and we really look forward to working with you in future events or future programs. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kesara and Dach, for sharing us the first lecture. Personally, I learned a lot from the examples that were shared by Dach, from Concord to Flow Aino to Vexcode. So very, very happy. I know our participants here are also very excited and very happy to hear. Personally, it's my first time to hear about these tools. So it might be good for them to test it out eventually. So we're also seeing a lot of woohoos and also a lot of virtual claps to Dr. Kesara and Dach for sharing us. Personally, what I also learned, it's a very powerful statement what you shared with us, Dr. Kesara, the last slide. Really is it really takes a system, no? It really takes the entire village for our teachers, for our learners to ethically, to purposefully and to also make sure that the use of Gen AI is human-centered so that we can actually personalize it across different contexts, especially with the diversity of learners in Southeast Asia. Before we proceed with questions, we will have area for questions later. See you later, Dr. Kesara, and possibly also that's during the question and answer portion. But for our participants, please hold on to your questions because we will now proceed to the second lecture, our key lecture. So as we have seen, we have used or there are now case studies in the use of AI in classrooms. But now let's proceed and move a bit further towards systems, leadership, and policy. Now, for the second lecture, we are excited to learn about international and regional policies on artificial intelligence in education and how we can ensure equity and inclusion in adoption, especially for low resource contexts. Now, to talk about building responsible AI ready education systems, policies, school leadership, and capacity building pathways for Southeast Asia, may I turn over the floor to the Center Director of the Southeast Asian Ministers of Education Organization Regional Center for Educational Innovation and Technology, or SEMO Inotech, based in the Philippines, Dr. Maha Leia Ravago, for her keynote lecture. Dr. Ravago, over to you.
Thank you very much, Carlo. Please let me share my screen first. Okay. Do you see it?
Yes, ma'am.
Testing. Okay, let me start. Okay, first, good afternoon or good day, wherever you may be. Thank you very much to SEMO Secretariat, to the University of Tsukuba and Japan's MEX for organizing this very important pre-event workshop, right? And for inviting us to share insights on building responsible AI-ready education systems, policy, school leadership, and capacity building pathways, and also to share some of the work that we do here at SEMO Inotech. We are based in the Philippines, as Carlo mentioned earlier. So just to give us context and to make sure that we are all on the same page, AI, or artificial intelligence, has transformative potential across sectors, and this includes education. And it can contribute substantially to economic growth of nations or countries. So global estimates suggest that AI could contribute between $17 trillion to $25 trillion annually to the world economy in the coming years. In Southeast Asia, AI adoption is likewise expected to play a major role in growth. It is projected to contribute up to $1 trillion to the regional economy of Southeast Asia by 2030. Highlighting its growing importance for development. So this translates to about 10 to 18% increase in national GDPs. AI is already entering education systems, but as we all know, situations in Southeast Asia is also very diverse. So this AI entering education systems is also uneven, both in Southeast Asia and also across the globe. Without system-level governance, this fragmented adoption risks widening inequities, undermining data protection, and distorting teaching and assessment practices. So therefore, we must be advocate for responsible AI and readiness, as we have heard from the first presentation by Dr. Kesara and Dash. It must be so responsible AI readiness must be treated as governance, leadership, and capacity challenge, and not just as technology rollout. We should be aware also of the great opportunities here. I listed them down here, but with these opportunities comes the challenges and risks. So we must be very much aware of this as we are trying to develop a responsible AI readiness. Okay, so now to contribute to building our human capital, our pathways need to consider the whole spectrum of life cycle education. So the slide here in the screen shows AI as a continuum. We cannot treat AI and education as a vacuum. In itself, in education, you must treat it as a continuing continuum following the life cycle education, starting from the early childhood through lifelong learning, and highlights where education systems can build responsible AI readiness across these stages. So let's say in early childhood and primary education, AI can support play-based learning, foundational literacy, and numeracy, and on the side of the teacher, reduce their administrative workload while prioritizing child safety, privacy, and age-appropriate use. So while we're recognizing that there is a potential for AI to be incorporated in childhood and primary education, we must recognize where it is appropriate and how it is used. Now, in secondary and higher education, AI expands into study support, tutoring, and research assistance alongside learning analytics to better support learners' progress. Then in higher education and even vocational, AI enables more applied and workplace-aligned learning through simulations and improved assessment design. And then finally, when the learners, we are shaping learners into the change makers of tomorrow when they join the labor force and become an effective member of the labor force. AI supports continuous reskilling through micro-learning and personalized upskilling pathways. We do not stop learning just because we already obtained our diploma. We continue to reskill as the demands of the industry changes. And across this continuum, the life cycle, AI supports continuous AI. Across this continuum, the focus is not only on tools. We are not looking at AI as tools only, but on strengthening the capacity building pathways through policy, school leadership, and educator guidance. So that AI is adopted responsibly, ethically, and with integrity. Again, you will be hearing a lot from us the word using AI responsibly. If we are to use AI strategically and responsibly across the learning life cycle, we can strengthen the full pipeline of human capital from early learning foundations to workforce readiness and then moving on to lifelong growth. So the question is, how do we do this, right? So we need to ask a critical question. If we are able to follow that continuum, what does an AI-ready education system need to actually acquire? So on the screen, I'm showing the slide which highlights that readiness is not only about introducing new technologies such as AI or artificial intelligence. It's about strengthening the education system foundations. So here is a diagram. At the center are the 4 core requirements: infrastructure and data, governance, human capacity, and equity safeguards. And these are supported by enabling conditions such as connectivity, digital platforms, and tools, policies, institutional capacity, and sustained teacher professional support. On the right side of this screen, I'm showing here concrete indicators of systems readiness. So we have here existence of ministry-level AI governance or digital ethics committees, learner data governance standards, teacher competency frameworks that include AI literacy and verification skills, equity and inclusion, and monitoring mechanisms that track both learning outcomes and unintended risks. So this is very important that we are able to monitor and track all these outcomes and learning outcomes and even the unintended risk, because technology develops very fast and we must be able to adapt. When something develops or emerge, we must be able to adapt on how to respond. So overall, responsible AI adoption must be guided by educational values, supported by capable leadership and professionals, and governed through clear accountability structures for equity, safety, and impact. So now, just to give what is happening now in the global stage and also at the region, many countries now include AI governance and structures in their national strategies and policy processes. As I've said earlier, Some of this, we may see this, but it's uneven across the globe. Governments increasingly create interministerial bodies or expert groups to coordinate AI oversight. I'm sure some of you are probably members of these oversight committees. These include ethical and governance aspects as part of national AI policies. The OECD AI Policy Observatory, if you are familiar with that publication release, it tracks over 930 AI policy initiatives across 71 jurisdictions around the globe, many involving governance structures, advisory groups, or interministerial committees to coordinate strategy and risk management. This is actually good news because there is a global effort to somehow provide guidance. No? So across these efforts, AI-related frameworks increasingly converge on human-centered and rights-based and risk-managed AI use. And it's increasingly being recognized that really we need to be adaptive in the use of these evolving technologies. Now, going closer to our region, Southeast Asia, in this context, as I've said earlier, the region has very high potential, but we can see that there is varying levels of readiness across countries in Southeast Asia. So this is from the 2024 Government AI Readiness Index. We see here that countries such as Singapore and Malaysia, they have high readiness. The ones at the bottom would be Myanmar and Timor-Leste, and in the middle, we see Vietnam and Philippines. So at least for countries that have data, we are able to classify them, or the 2024 Government AI Readiness Index is able to classify them as high ready, mid-tier, and early stage. So across Southeast Asian countries, we also see some statistics. Nearly 30% of students lack reliable internet access. So how can these students be able to utilize the full potential of AI if they don't even have access? Not to mention access to high-speed internet. 56% of schools in rural areas versus 85% in urban centers. Also, nearly 40% of teachers in the region have insufficient training in using digital technologies in the classroom. Again, you just don't provide the technology. We should be able to build the capacity of teachers who will then be cascading those technology or the use of the technology to their students. Now, going to closer to our home here at Innotech, we see ourselves as a catalyst for innovation and technology in the digital era, having given the mandate of trying to address solutions in education through innovation and technology. So related to AI, we have these banner initiatives. On research and policy governance, we are co-creating and co-collaborating this regional policy framework on AI in education, or AIED for short. And then on the leadership and capacity building, we have these two programs, the Innovator Seal Program, or the Innovators in Education, Southeast Asian School Leadership. This is really an enhancement of the long-standing school leadership program of Innotech. We are enhancing it to incorporate the emerging technologies such as AI to prepare our school leaders and our school teachers. And then we also have this social and emotional learning, or what we call CEL Excellent, currently being implemented here in the Philippines. So what is this regional policy framework on AI in education? As I've said, this is being co-created and collaborated with the Ministries of Education and other partners in Southeast Asia. The objective is to align it with existing ASEAN commitments, including relevant roadmap, declaration policies, strategies, and plans related to AI, not only in Asia, but also the global regional framework. We do recognize that there are already the presence or the existence of this regional framework. But again, Southeast Asia, with its diversity in the levels of economic development and AI readiness, we need to have, regional policy framework focusing on AI in education that is for Southeast Asia. So the framework also recognized existing national efforts by SEMO member countries. As shown earlier, countries also varies in terms of AI readiness. And the framework also hopes to facilitate regional dialogue by convening policymakers, experts, and education stakeholders to co-develop this framework and engage education stakeholders to gather diverse perspective on the integration of AI in education. We have this is already ongoing, the development of this AI framework. We just actually finished the workshop last December, and it was well represented from the ministries of education, and the next step is to gather and hear the voices of the stakeholder, including teachers, education, and students, and including parents, on this AI and on this AI, on the development of this AI framework. So we hope that the participants here, in case you will be included in the survey, that you will answer this truthfully so that we hear from you. So what will set this framework apart? It's going to be, of course, education specific, having the name Regional Policy Framework for AI in Education. It is intended to support development of future-ready workforce. The AI framework would be student-centered, designed to be adaptable to the dynamic nature of AI. As I've said, we all know that the technology, the AI technology, is evolving, and it's evolving very fast. So we need to be able to also adapt, meaning to say anticipate and not always become reactive, but it's both anticipatory and reactive. And it also aligns with the cultural and local context of the countries in Southeast Asia. It's flexible, forward-looking, and sustainable, and it cuts across levels of education and disciplines. Again, following the life cycle earlier that I showed in this case, this one. So it cuts across levels of education. So in this case, the framework, we hope to be able to launch the framework, the framework next year, early next year. But the idea here is that, again, we are not reinventing the wheel. We are aligning it, and once the framework is there, the next step would be to, in number 4 here, align it with local and cultural context. Meaning to say, this is a guidelines, but localization and contextualization to the needs of the countries in Southeast Asia is also needed. Now, in the leadership and capacity building, moving on, we have, as I've said, this Innovator SEAL program. Again, this is an enhanced leadership program of Innotech. Currently, these participants are supported by a scholarship supported by the Philippine government, but we are hoping to expand the number of participants through support from different partners and sponsors. So if anybody here is listening and you would like to support this effort on supporting our school leaders in really enhancing and integrating the emerging technologies, not just AI, so please, we will be happy to converse with you on this program called Innovator SEAL program. We are relaunching this during the celebration of Innotech anniversary next Friday. So we hope that you will be watching out for this Innovator SEAL program. So the program the features of the program would help school leaders to critically analyze and reflect, assess, and interpret the influence of current and emerging global, regional, and local trends, including AI, design and articulate a compelling future-ready vision and strategy, apply strategic leadership tools and approaches to promote innovation, resilience, and organizational learning, develop, initiate, and sustain professional learning networks and communities of practice, prototype, test, and implement AI-supported and context-sensitive innovations. So this is what we hope to impart to our expanding participants of this Innovator SEAL program. And lastly, still on leadership and capacity building, currently this is being implemented in the Philippines, the Social and Emotional Learning, or SEL, excellent in the Philippines. The idea is to contextualize SEL competency framework. So this one we're starting with the Philippines. but we also hope to expand and scale this program to other countries in Southeast Asia as we partner with various organizations. So CEL is going back again, no, before I discuss this, going back again to this continuum of lifelong learning, building human capital from early childhood education to lifelong learning. CEL is very important in this regard because it's essential for well-being, resilience, and ethical judgment and lifelong adaptability. It builds critical thinking, self-regulation, empathy, and responsible decision-making early on. AI in early childhood should strengthen CEL, not replace human care and play. And it uses AI only with adult guidance, age-appropriate design, and system safeguards, anchor AI use in equity, inclusion, and child protection standards. And we recognize that AI literacy can start early, but it must be age-appropriate and CEL-consistent. So as concluding remarks, we must be able to advance this AI as a region because it is in the best interest of the respective countries, because increasingly economic integration is increasing and labor mobility is also increasing. So from early education to lifelong learning, AI can build human capital if used responsibly. There is that caveat all the time. Strategic responsible AI strengthens the human capital pipeline. Policy and governance must ensure equity, safety, and accountability. School leadership drives meaningful and implementation on the ground, and capacity building pathways equip educators and learners for effective and ethical use of AI. And here at Innotech, we support AI-ready systems through research, policy, and leadership initiatives. So as a last point, I wanted to leave that responsible AI readiness is built through systems, leadership, and of course, most important is you and us, people. So thank you very much. I look forward to the interaction later on. Carlo?
Thank you so much. Thank you very, very much. Maraming salamat po, Dr. Maha Ravago, for sharing us and providing a powerful reminder that artificial intelligence is also really making sure that we have prepared people, prepared institutions, and also the values. I'm really reminded when you presented, Dr. Maha, the SEL program that you have in the Philippines and with Innotech, that it is really of paramount importance in designing ethical use of AI. So we have a lot of inputs. We also are receiving a lot of questions from YouTube. So we're very, very happy to receive them. We also encourage our participants in WebEx and also in Facebook to please share with us your questions. And you can ruminate about it. You can reflect about it more as we proceed to a short 5-minute break. So please stretch a little, get some water or some coffee or some tea, and then we'll also see you again shortly, hopefully with more questions to our participants. Again, see you after 5 minutes. Thank you so much.
everyone. Are you back? I hope you can come back to the session. Okay, so let us start our final. Okay, thank you for commenting. You're back. Okay, so thank you, Dr. Kesara and Dr. Maja, for your keynotes. We would like to move on to our third lecture. Are we ready for that?
Yes.
Okay, so I would like to introduce, from now I would be the MC with you. I hope we can continue learning.
Yes, please.
So let me introduce the speaker for keynote lecture 3. Is the slides okay to show Dr. Nomura or Tangai and Shankan? Yes, thank you so much. So next, we would like to start key lecture 3. Today, we would like to invite Dr. Nakao Nomura, Director of Christ-Said, University of Tsukuba. And the title of the lecture would be Utilization of Generative AI and University Policy. So he would go into the case of the University of Tsukuba. Dr. Nomura, the virtual floor is yours. Maybe some kind of trouble. Can you maybe share the screen, or if you have the slides? I see you, but you're muted.
Okay.
I
was not able to unmute by
maybe
myself.
Kungai
Yeah,
and
I think
Chanka,
now
can
I
you
can-
make him a speaker? Share slide. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you
Okay.
now. Thank you very much.
Hi,
And your
thank you
slide
very
is
much.
visible.
Hi, good afternoon from Japan. My name is Nomura. I hope you can see my slides. So I'm here to introduce a kind of the guideline for the utilization of the generative AI in the higher education in the case of University of Tsukuba. Okay. So that, of course, we have no wonder that a rapid advance in generative AI that bring very large impact on the research and education in higher education institutions. But today we are focusing on the education. So that I think my talk will be more on the education. Then my University of Tsukuba, is known as a new concept university, which is really open for the transformative change in the academic world. So that if something change, or we have some new system, or new device, or new regulation, or sometimes government new initiatives, University of Tsukuba is often become a first runner for this kind of new change. So for AI, when this came up, we also tried to set up our new policy to cope with utilization of the AI. Then here I have around 20 minutes. I was given 20 minutes to introduce a guideline for utilization of generative AI in education by University of Tsukuba. We also have a guideline for the research, but I will introduce only for the education today. Since this is a guideline, so this AI, this guideline was set up around 2 or 3 years ago. Then guideline was including a lot of the introduction of the AI system or the concept of AI. So it's a kind of long documents, but I try to compress to prepare a kind of summarization for this presentation. So that my presentation will be a bit wordy one, but I will try to make it as simple as possible. Then nowadays, I think many universities are going to become very comprehensive, covering many different study fields. So the application or utilization of the AI is not only in the classroom. Most of the cases that come to the physical activities, such as the sports or coaching studies, or creation of the fine art or industrial design. This also covers utilization of the AI. And as maybe two keynote speakers mentioned that the multiple aspects for the utilization, I think our human, ourselves, need to have high competencies in terms of the critical thinking, communication skills, and the empathy and the creativity. These are quite important to cope with AI. So my talk will cover about 10 items, but each item about 1 or 2 slides. So I will start from the fundamental principle of the generative AI. So of course, all of you realize that generative AI is not a black box. So it's not a random output. I think they have some rules inside the AI to generate the output. And those driving force to drive AI, generative AI, is a mathematical principle. So the possibility, limitation, or the ideal way for utilization should be based on its principle. And the utilization of the AI in the university should be done in the same way. And of course, this one's important, human-centered empowerment. So the effective utilization for AI in a good way or a bad way, like abusing, depends on the ethical understanding and the literacy of the human using generative AI. So this is quite important. And as generative AI is more integrated into education, human, student, faculties, which will have to be more responsible about the role of generative AI as automatic thinkers. And the appropriate use of generative AI, we should avoid too much dependent on generative AI output. Then let's describe the principle of generative AI. When somebody asks me to define what is generative AI, I'd like to describe in this way. A technology to generate text, image, audio, and video by using processing system based on vast amounts of data. In short, definition of the generative is like this. Then, this is also familiar for most of you. The commonly used generative AI is ChatGPT by OpenAI, or Copilot by Microsoft, or Gemini by Google. And the core of those generative AI is large language models, which is called the LLM. And another important thing is generative AI can learn from data input from the users. And by recent development, generative AI can create a very high quality academic, which could be used for the academic purpose or actual human conversations. So I put some precautions of generative AIs for utilization. I think that in the opening speech, Dr. Habiba mentioned that these kind of things, information with the biases, especially in terms of the gender, race, nationality, religion, or ideology. If the generative AI learns from these informations with a lot of biases, output will also be with biases. So we need to be careful about this. Second is uncertain information. If the generative AI learn from the information from non-fact or outdated source, or output may be also in those uncertain information, like a lack of certainty. These two are important when we make a prompt. So if we make a prompt including biases or those lack of certainty, I think the output will be very, very unreliable output. Then also another important thing is care for information related with the intellectual properties or copyrights. And also we need to be careful for the confidential information. So recommended measure for these precautions is, of course, we should not fully rely on the output from generative AIs. Then every time we get output, we need to make sure that if that output has no any biases. And also we need to confirm if output is fact or updated information. And the personal confidential information in prompt should be avoided in the prompt. And also that we need to avoid that using output in case information violating intellectual properties. And also that we need to tell all the users, including students, that output from AI is never users' intellectual properties. So that, and also there are some services providing these measures, but not fully comprehensive. So that I think users should be keep these the recommendation measures in mind to when they utilize generative AI. And the university always mention this to the students and faculty and the staff. And the utilization of the AI in the educational setting. And the policies or the rules for using generative AI has to be established by each educational organization, like a faculty or department, or each courses by course instructors. And the student and the faculty members should decide how to use generative AIs, but the utilization has to be done just as a tool. That's what university instruct to the students. And the guideline for using generative AI in the student life, not only in the classroom, that generative AI in student life could provide various suggestions or advice for the scheduling or recipe preparation, or as a conversational partner. But of course, we human, irreplaceable being with the individual personalities, thoughts, emotions, and the physical presence. So we should engage generative AIs and ourselves meaningfully. And also this is fact that student life in the university is quite important to develop let's say our students' ability for strengths of humanities in multiple aspects. So the too much dependence on the generative AI could be a very negative impact on this kind of nurture abilities. And in the student life, these points are also important. So we also always recommend students to utilize generative AI in the proactive usage. So avoid excessive dependence on the generative AI. Always, I think they need to mix themselves and the generative AI meaningfully. And when they make a prompt in the generative AI, we suggest students do not put any personal information. And also, once the student get the output from generative AI, we always recommend students to check if that is a correct, accurate, and updated information. And of course, we should avoid infringing or harming the rights of others with generative AI. And nowadays, this is also important. The media contents with the misinformation and the fake source are increasing. So that we instruct students to enhance their literacy on information from generative AI. In the classroom usage, basically, university encourage all the faculty and staff to utilize generative AI actively, but that is a basic policy of the university. But we need to understand the nature and the limitation of the generative AI. So the university encourage student, faculty, staff to explore the potential application, and that has to be utilized to maximize the educational outcome through appropriate utilization. Also, we encourage staff and faculty students to share good practices for utilization of the generative AI in classes. And we still continue discussion about effective utilization of generative AI to share positive impact with the whole university. So in classes, generative AI could be effective for the support for the class design and improvement of the educational quality and assessment method. But however, faculty need to understand the limitation, ethical and the legal issues in the utilization of generative AI. So of course, I think the most of the staff already done it, but we always encourage the faculties or each course instructor to check output from generative AI by setting prompt of the assignment within the class. And in the course syllabus, we ask all the course instructors to state about the stance on the use of generative AI. And if the course instructor allow using generative AI, rules should also be clearly stated in the syllabus. So if the use is permitted in the class, important thing is one very intensive care should be taken to minimize the disadvantage arise from the differences in the performance between paid and free version of the generative AI. I think most of people here realizing that there are free version and the paid version. And if that difference in the performance affect the performance of the student, academic performance of the student is not really good. So the course instructor should try to minimize those disadvantages to the students. And utilization of generative AI should not be mandatory. That's also important. If students use generative AI, students should clearly state about the usage. Okay, this is also important. And there are some tools available to detect the output of generative AI, but those are not really perfect. So that we can get some result from the detecting tool, but we should not rely too much on those detection tools. Then if the assignment in the class, if you allow to use generative AI, the risk of leaking personal and confidential information should be cared. And also the risk of the copyright infringement and information with biases and concentration, and the risk for the generating the harmful and offensive contents also we have to be pay attention to this one. And also we need to be careful about the potential discrimination and ethical issues. And as I told you in the previous slides, I think we should not rely too much on the detection tools. And how about in the report assignment examination utilizing the AI? So of course, this one also should be decided by each course. We university encourage all the course instructor to decide if they allow utilization of the generative AI or not in the report assignment examination. And if it's prohibited, if you do not allow to use, I think the assigned task has to be given in the beginning of the class and end of the lesson. Have the student answer in the classroom, so that the student cannot use generative AI physically. And sometimes you may, as instructor, may assign the task that will result in unique answers from the student. This also effective even if you allow the student to use generative AI. In case the instructor allowed to use generative AI, I think source of information must be clearly stated, like a citation or AI name or version or prompt status like that. And also if in case the unauthorized use of the generative AI, I think the instructor should clearly state about the measures to be taken. And in case you totally prohibit the generative AI, creating learning environment that are not physically available, so such as in-person testing or oral presentations. I think some course instructor in university are performing this, and they share their result with other instructors. And assign tasks to the students that are difficult for generative AI to generate output. For example, assign tasks that involve conducting experiment or fieldwork. This raw data from the experiment, it's difficult for generative AI to produce output. And also the specific to the contents of the class. This is sometimes difficult. Or instructor may give some assignment that requires student to collect or criticize text created by generative AI. So those are the I think guideline set by the University of Tsukuba. And if you have any clarification or question, I'm very happy to answer your question. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nomura, for your presentation. Actually, there were some comments that the participants would like to know some detail about one of the university policies. So I think your presentation was very relevant for those participants. Thank you so much. So now that we have done 3 keynote lectures, we would like to move on to the QA session. Actually, we have been receiving quite a lot of questions from the YouTube channel in the chat box, and we have kind of chose maybe 3 or 4 questions that we can make it open to the speakers. So maybe the speakers, yes, Dr. Quesara, Dr. Maja, and Dr. Nomura, I hope you can show up because the questions will be to you. Okay, so shall we start with the first question in YouTube? Yes, so the first one is, let me read. As you said, so it's about prompting. Prompting is already a thinking process. However, most generative AIs have already structured prompts built in the tool itself, right? Which does not need thinking skills to create prompts. So what can we deal with this is the question from this person via YouTube. So he cannot comment here, but it was in YouTube. So can any of the speakers answer this question?
Yeah, may I share?
Please. Thank you
Yes,
so much.
yeah.
Okay, Sarah.
Yes, I think it's very important that the teachers or the user know that what are the framework of the good prompts, right? And because if they are going to use for pedagogy, for example, so they should learn about the framework of the high impact instructional practices, so that these practices framework can be fed in the prompt, even though they have the ready-made prompts. But I think the user must know their contextual conditions and be able to use AI to fill some gaps that they want some ideas, right? For example, in high impact instructional practices, if our classroom still struggle with group discussions, and use the prompt in a way that brainstorm with AI partner to generate some student discussion guides to help us improve student discussions. I think it's very important that we still engage and interact with AI more like brainstorming and to find the best solution for our classroom that have very specific context that I don't think the ready-made prompts can fit in perfectly with the gap that we want to fill. That's my that's my input answer to that question. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kesara. Yes, I agree. There is always a gap. So you have to always, the human must always try to fill in the gap, not just the AI. It's of course not going to be successful if you just rely on them. Thank you so much for your comment.
Yeah.
So any other comments, or we can also move on to the next question. Dr. Majid, do you have?
Yes, may I add to the response?
Uh,
Well, there's already a structured prompt built in. I think it's important for us to really, study. I myself is still studying. I do not consider myself really an expert on AI because it's a new technology. So we are all studying, catching up with the technology. Here at the office, we are having this info session, bite-sized info session. And in one of these info session, we learned that AI prompt is very important for AI to give us the appropriate answer that we are looking for, and we must also be cognizant to let the AI know that what we seeking an answer from the AI is neutral and professional. Because if you give that if you do not incorporate that in the prompt, AI may give you an answer that is something that you want to hear, that is biased to what you want. So we must be careful. And there are several AI tools like ChatGPT, DeepSeek, Group. If you have time, you may want to also use the same prompt among all of this AI, and you will be surprised that it will give you different answers. So thinking of the individuals using AI is also needed to determine which AI will give the appropriate answer. So it's not a built-in prompt. We also need to think. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your, it was eye-opening comment. Thank you so much. Yeah, I think all of the participants are kind of have the same feeling because a lot of you have used this type of prompt AI. So yeah, thank you for sharing your comments. So since we have a little bit more questions, can we move on to the second question? The second question is, yeah, this is also a good topic, I think. This is also from YouTube. What are your suggestions to avoid over-dependency on AI? Yeah, Dr. Nomura? Yes, please. Thank you.
This is a really tendency of most of the students. I think many students really rely on the output from the AI, and somehow it's effective. But it's important to show the student that some errors or failure of the AI. I think sometimes AI gives some wrong
hallucination.
Yeah. So I think the student, those who totally believe on the output, they don't take a look on those errors so much. So I think we instructors should show the student that you see, AI sometimes give an error or some false output. Then I think students can start developing the critical thinking skill, and they try to start maybe verifying the output always. I think that's one way to minimize this too much dependency on the AI result. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nomura. I also agree on your point. Yeah, and sometimes they make really funny hallucinations. Yeah, if we believe totally not on them, we will miss it. So yeah, any other comments or?
Yeah, I recall I learned one from one professor in Singapore, and I was really impressed with how he shared with us about insight that actually now today we cannot avoid, right, that students will use AI, but how they use AI is it is a bigger question. And I think I agree with Dr. Nomura that how we can promote a critical thinking process, and let's challenge students that how they can improve the work that AI generated, right? And how they can be critical and challenge with the product that AI generate, and let's discuss and judge the work that AI generated and find ways to improve and enhance it, and tell the reason that why such enhancement is made, right? What's wrong with the current one? Why it's not good enough, right? And why they enhance it that way. I think if we use the product of AI is one of the maybe the work that they can be critical of, and let's discuss about the enhancement from the current work that AI generated. I think that is another good strategy. Yeah, that I learned. Yeah.
Yes. If I may add quickly to that concept, I think it's also important that we are incorporating AI in the learning. It's the whole system. We should also, probably change the way we assess students. The traditional ways of, let's say, giving homework online may not work because we know that we are encouraging students to use AI, let's say, in terms of essay writing. Or in economics, we use graphs like the supply and demand. When I give exams, it always has to be written, so that because there is also the memory of the hand, the dexterity. So in this case, perhaps there will always be in-person assessment, so that, it's not just encouraging the use of AI, but we have to think through the entire process. Assessment may also change in that regard, so we avoid dependency.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you so much for all your comments. Due to time constraints, maybe we do one more question, shall we? If you
Yes.
can. Yeah. Okay. So another question is this. Okay. Oh, maybe not this one, is it? Is it okay? Actually, we have quite a lot of questions, and is the one shown on the screen okay? Yeah, so can I read? It's in a different platform. The question is, well, first is the comment. I really appreciate about sharing sessions. I learned a lot from all the speakers. I really love the information of quality of education system cannot exceed the quality of teacher. And the question is, as a teacher, so this person is a teacher. My name is a participant from Myanmar. As a teacher, I really agree that integration of AI into education is very powerful. On the other hand, I found overusing AI can lower the critical thinking skills. How can teachers access the education competence and promote critical thinking at this time of this era of using AI? I think this is a very good question. So integration of AI is very powerful, but on the other hand, if we overuse AI, the critical thinking skill will lower. So can teachers access the competence and promote critical thinking? I think it's a very important topic. So any
I think that we have to find ways to really promote students to value the authenticity of their ideas, right? And spell that out through the learning process that yes, the search, the work that you work with AI is great, right? How do you think of that work, right? We have to still always end up that how do students think about the work that they work with AI that is generated. The more that we try to integrate the learning process with the work that is generated with AI, but the authenticity of the judgment, the opinions, the ideas that students have, we must be able to engage students in that discussions real, not just only ask again that, oh, what do you think of the work, right? And ask AI. No, we have to authentic discussions more and more, right? But students can learn a lot from the ideas that generated with AI. So the thinking process can be even more fun, and then try to enhance the quality of the work through the work that already done by AI. This is my my idea.
Thank you so much. Carlo, did you raise your hand? No? Is it okay? Okay, sorry. Yeah, thank you so much. I think this question is very relevant to all the participants who is engaging in education. Maybe
Okay, so Dr. Maja first. Okay.
Yeah, just add to as answer to the question in the presentation that I have shared, it's very important that we look at the whole spectrum. In the early childhood, the foundational learning is very important. Hence, the social-emotional learning skills, because that is the foundation we build on the students before they are able to use AI. We really need to build the ethical judgment. So, because of this digital era, the interaction, the human connection is somehow not as intense as before when we don't have all this gadget. That's why we put emphasis on the foundational learning during the early childhood, and that's where social and emotional learning is playing an important role, so that when they proceed to primary, secondary, when they are using AI, there is already that recognition, the cognitive ability is already there, the judgment. So meaning to say, we do not start in the middle, start at the foundation. Thank you.
thank you very much. Thank you very much for your comment. I think Dr. Nomura, you were about to say something.
Maybe the short that I think it's about time to transform our educational class how to say education system, not depending more on the memorization based education. I think still we have a lot of classes or courses that depending on the student need to memorize a lot. But that cause too much dependency, and the students do not develop critical thinking. But I think let's encourage the student to think more about creativity and the critical thinking, and they go for that one. I think
Yeah, thank you very much. That's a good point. Yes, yes. Oh, and maybe Sir John, are you raising your hand? May I ask you to open your? Maybe you're muted. Let me unmute you. Okay. Can you unmute yourself?
Yes, I can now.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much. The topic is this topic on critical thinking and how AI can actually either facilitate or even hinder critical thinking. I think because it's so difficult to change the curriculum now, so it will take a while, right? But I think on a day-to-day basis, it's the teacher who should be able to manage this critical thinking and how to promote it in the classroom. And I think one of the critical areas that we need to look at is how we assess students' learning here. So it's not enough anymore to just ask students to churn out information, to regurgitate information, or to test memory, because definitely it's not working, especially in this era of AI. And so that's why even the assessment system, assessment techniques and strategies have to change to shift the assessment questions from merely memorization, as pointed out by Dr. Munumura, but really to look at the quality of thinking that comes with the answers of the students. And I think this is an area that is that will increasingly be very important in the coming days and months as AI becomes more pervasive and even more advanced. Because if AI is a thinking partner, and it is utilized by the students and the teachers themselves, then the level of assessment will have to change. It has to go now to what's the quality of the thinking that comes here.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you so much, all of you. And maybe final words from Dr. Isoda. Would you like to finalize?
Thank you very much informative lectures. At the same time, we got to the very much interesting questions. And I understand that the questionnaire already have some answers based on their experiences. Am I right? And we are now the same situation. And it is a good opportunity for all of us, as Dr. John mentioned, to think critically to create new education. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much, all of the speakers and the questions. Sorry, I couldn't go all of the questions because there were quite a lot of questions, but I hope proceed to the next part. Okay, so I would like to close the Q&A session, and I would like to pass the floor to Mr. Carlo, reflections and sharing session.
Thank you so much. That was very, very insightful. Thank you so much, Nausan, for facilitating that discussion. We do have just very limited time, but I hope that you're still here with us because we're now transitioning to your reflections and sharing. You've been listening so much to our participants. Again, thank you to our participants. But at the same time, this is the opportunity to us to hear and to learn from you. So may I kindly invite you to please grab your cell phones with you. My phone, grab your cell phones because you will access a Slido. No, the Slido QR is shown on screen. So if you can join the Slido, we only have 3 questions for this reflection part. So for this reflection part, we really want to hear from you. I know the first question might be, this is something that I can see Sir Ellie raising, yes, great. So we're now seeing the movement. This is also, I think, artificial intelligence in a way because we are also adapting our webinar and responding to how you feel. No, echoing Dr. Maha, we want to make sure that the use of technology also appeals to your emotions. So in terms of the first question is, what's your biggest worry about using AI in your classroom or school? So we can see here, some responses. Majority of the responses, almost 59% mention academic integrity. So I think that's 61, already 61. Academic integrity. And I think this also echoes to, the sentiments of our teachers here. How do we know whether the responses of our students are actually made by the students themselves? So it is a very valid concern. And I think this is important for us to further ruminate, no, and reflect on as we use AI moving forward. Next, followed by academic integrity is misuse, data privacy, authorship. I think goes last only because I think most of our participants here are from schools, from basic education departments. So I think authorship might be a different concern, no, probably from academia. So I think this also points to what Dr. Maha was saying earlier, that there are various concerns as we proceed over the continuum and the use of AI from ECCD to lifelong learning. Next question, please. So for the next question, how could AI make learning or solving problems easier, faster, or more fun for your students or team? So you are requested to key in your short responses in the chat. Okay, academic integrity. How the question asks, like, how would you be able to use AI to make it more fun? AI can be a partner for learning. By creating activities, we learned a lot from our SEMO STEM Ed speakers, Dr. Kesara and Dutch, how we would be able to make it more dynamic, make it more engaging, build from previous knowledge, making sure that we also acknowledge where our students are and then building it from where they are, designing, helping explain topics in more simple terms, AI as learning assistant. It can tailor fit our responses. Also, as a former teacher myself, we do have a lot of activities. So AI can become very, very handy in personalizing our lessons and making sure that we provide differentiated instruction to our students. Think a few more responses, easier access, creating interesting activities, making it more fun, making it more Gen Z, making it more techy. So I think that's important, no? The use of multimedia and allowing us, providing us different ideas, but also not being very dependent on them. And I think the last question is, thank you to all those who are responding. The last question is, okay, the last one. We promise the last one before the final announcements. I know all of you are already asking most of the questions that we received is, can we receive the e-certificate? So before we answer that question, the last question is, what's one thing you could try in the next few months to make AI work better for you and your students? Syllabus creation. Nice, no? Providing us a lot of easy access references, but at the same time allowing us to provide more ideas, making lesson plans, providing us more ideas also, or different examples as to how we can plan our lessons better, learning to generate sketch notes, syllabus update, educational games. That's very important also, no, that we are adapting and also designing more fun, student-centered learning. So I think that's really exciting with the use of Gen AI. And a few more final responses. Math can also math, particularly difficult concepts in math. Gen AI can also help us with that. Interactive PowerPoints, research, gamification, and really, no, providing us with a lot of different activities that we can use and that we can implement in our own classrooms. This is just a taste. No? This is just a taste of what we will be able to use with Gen AI, but we're very, very grateful for all of your responses, for sharing with us your time. And I think this really provides us a very good grounding that you have learned a lot from today's webinar. So again, thank you so much. Now, again, just taking it over from Nausan to help introduce the final speaker for today's session, if I may, Nausan. To formally end today's program, it is my honor to invite the Deputy Director for Program and Development of the SEMO Secretariat to deliver the closing remarks for this pre-event online course. May I acknowledge Mr. John Arnold Sasi Siena, our Deputy Director for SEMO.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Carlo. So thank you all for joining us today for this very insightful pre-event online course prior to our 14th University of Tsukuba SEMO Symposium. This course focused on the utilization and challenges of generative AI in education. And we have had the privilege of hearing from distinguished speakers from Dr. Quesara and Dutch from STEMEd, Dr. Avago from SEMO Innotech, of course, Professor Nomura Sensei from University of Tsukuba, and we also heard from the distinguished Professor Isoda Sensei. They have shared their expertise and perspectives on this rapidly evolving topic. In particular, Dr. Quesara and Dutch emphasized the importance of integrating AI into the STEM pedagogy and highlighting how it can enhance inquiry, problem solving, and assessment in Southeast Asian classrooms. And I think more importantly, looking to AI not just as a tool, but as a partner in the thinking and learning process, thereby fostering critical thinking and creativity among students. Likewise, Dr. Avago discussed the need for responsible AI adoption in education systems, stressing that it should be guided by ethical considerations and a focus on equity, and as well as a very strong emphasis on socio-emotional learning, which is the foundation of any of the adoption of AI in terms of human-centeredness of AI use in education. Dr. Nomura provided valuable insights into the guidelines for utilizing generative AI in higher education, emphasizing the importance of critical thinking as well, and to avoid over-reliance on AI outputs. So throughout our discussions, we gathered reflections from you via Slido, and we looked into your biggest worry, and you said the predominant concern may be academic integrity. And in fact, this is very critical and central to this use of AI. We don't know who is learning and not learning, and whether we are just dictated by AI or it's just AI answering and not the actual person, which is very important because, I mean, what can you do with human resource and the labor force that's not thinking on its feet, relying always on AI, right? And the creativity will also be affected in the end, and as well as productivity when they become part of society and the labor force. So therefore, this reflects a broader concern about maintaining the quality and authenticity of education. And you also shared how you can make learning easier and more fun. Enhancing learning by creating engaging activities, personalizing lessons, and serving as learning assistant. But of course, making sure that when there's fun, there's learning at the same time, and that this learning is meaningful to everyone. And we're also very happy to note that you are not just, getting information, but at the same time, making commitments to look into our personal practices in the classrooms and beyond, and to use AI in very real terms in improving our practices, our pedagogy, and even the non-teaching activities inside the classroom, even outside. So as we conclude, let us remember that the integration of AI in education, it's not just about technology. We always say that. But of course, Dr. Maha has always a caveat: use it responsibly. It is about enhancing the learning experiences for our students and preparing them for a future where they can thrive and not as lazy bones, not just relying on AI, but people, members of society, active and productive members of society who really contribute meaningfully to the society where they live in, and they can thrive in society. So we approach this journey with a mindset of collaboration, innovation, and ethical responsibility. So once again, thank you to our speakers, participants, and everyone involved: Carlo, Nausan, our team from SEMO, Kungay, and Kunchan. Very much appreciated your contribution to this, to the success of this pre-event. This is just a pre-event. I think Nausan is going to provide us with more information on what's the main event like. So I wish you all to enjoy the rest of the day, and safe travels, quote unquote, on your journey of integrating AI in education. And we hope to see you in our future events. Thank you very much. Over to you, Carlo.
Thank you, DDPD John. Thank you so much. Turning over to Nausan for the event symposium sign-ups. Nausan.
Okay, so I've been receiving a lot of questions about the e-certificate. So can I first go with that? Could you show me as the slide for the assignment? So people were waiting for this, right? So for the participants, please submit this assignment for the half-day online workshop. And I would like you to be sure to think about today's session and reflect on yourself about the topic in your context. There are 2 questions and some other questions that will make you reflect today's session. So I hope you can submit this. And another notice, the next slide. Sorry, yeah, you can also utilize this QR and the link. And then, so let me share one concern for online workshop participants. So maybe some of you had to leave during the session, or like you have some work and couldn't attend today's course live. So these are the really major concerns for online workshop participants. So the answer is given here. You can watch the video at your convenient time and submit the reflection Google form. Not today, the deadline will be 31st January. So please take your time to reflect on today's lesson and submit the reflection by this deadline. I hope this will help some of the participants who are working but still interested in participating in this course. Thank you very much. This is some important announcements about the online workshop today. And last but not least, I would like to just briefly go through the explanation about our real main event coming on 5th and 6th February. It's the symposium that we do every year, the 14th SEMO University of Tsukuba Symposium. And the theme will be Empowering Learning Futures. And of course, it's going to be about digital transformation for equitable and sustainable education. So part of the topic was extracted today in the pre-event, and we talked about the generative AI today, but we'll be having a lot of more sessions so that you can learn a lot about this topic. I hope you can all register online and join our session. Thank you very much. Back to you, Carlo.
Great, thank you so much. This is really exciting for all of our participants because the learning continues. We have just concluded the pre-event online course, but there is a lot of opportunity for us to continue engaging and learning about the work of the SEMO centers, and of course in partnership with the University of Tsukuba. So while yes, there is an upcoming 14th SEMO University of Tsukuba Symposium happening, we also encourage everyone to please follow, subscribe all of the Facebook pages of our centers. In particular, for today's session, SEMO STEM Ed, based in Thailand, and SEMO Innotech, based in the Philippines, to know more about the work, the fantastic work that all of the centers are doing in relation to the theme. Because all of our centers have their own webinars, have their own opportunities. So please, in order for you to stay updated, please follow and subscribe in our Facebook pages. But again, on behalf of CRISED, University of Tsukuba, and the SEMO Secretariat, arigato gozaimasu, kapkan kap, terima kasih, maraming salamat for being here and being part of today's pre-event online course. Again, have a wonderful afternoon, everyone. Safe travels, as Sir John mentioned, safe travels in our journey to integrating AI. Muli, maraming salamat po. This concludes the pre-event online course. Thank you so much and see you again.
Bye.
See you.
Thank you, Dr. Maha, Dr. Kesara, Dach,
Dr. Kesara.
Isoda Sensei, Nomura Sensei, Now Sensei, John
Thank you,
Sensei.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Take care.
Bye.
And
Bye.
have
Bye,
a
everyone.
wonderful day.